Welcome, Army fans. This is Joe Iacono with GoBlackKnights.com with the recap of Army's 24-7 victory over Charlotte. If you didn't see the game, that sounds a lot closer than the game actually was. It was 24-0, and Monken and the staff replaced a lot of the starters, especially on defense. Charlotte got a touchdown in garbage time with their backup quarterback against Army's second team defense to make it 24-7. But Army mostly dominated the game against a very young, injured, very weak Charlotte team, but was exactly what we were looking for, especially in the first half. Second half, the offense had its struggles, which Coach Monken was none too happy about in the post-game presser. No surprise there. We'll get into some of the recap here. I'm not going to go through a drive-by-drive breakdown. Let's say this. What did Army do well? 304 yards rushing for an average of 4.8 yards a carry. And in the first half, it was closer to 6 yards a carry. Cale Helms got to start at quarterback. And his individual stats, he had a really good game across the board. Really can't complain about what he did at all. 2 for 4 passing for 50 yards, no turnovers. Had a big completion to Noah Short on the one drive in the third quarter that we did score on. 45-yard completion, which led to a 1 yard or half a yard QB sneak by Helms on fourth and goal. Cale ran the ball 21 times for 143 yards. He came out, opened the game first drive on offense. 50-yard guard tackle counter play. Teddy Williams had a really good block on that and sprung Helms, and then he outran the Charlotte defense all the way down to the 1 yard line before he ran out of gas and got caught. He was kind of joking about that in a post-game presser, but he was able to take it in on the next play quick for a touchdown. Hayden Reed had 11 carries for 53 yards, but did have a fumble, which could have been costly, but the defense did a great job in sudden change. Stopped Charlotte on downs. There were 4 or 5 turnovers on downs in this game. The defense I think that's the bright spot of the team right now. The defense just continues to improve. What was a liability for Army early in the season has become an asset. We have talked about and have known how good the play of the secondary's been, specifically the safeties, Casey Larkin, Colin Madison, Stephen Nadozi. But now we're starting to see some improvement from the defensive line for the first time. Charlotte's quarterbacks were both under a significant amount of pressure and duress all game. Let me see if I can get sacks. How many sacks did Army have? Do we have this information? I do not, unfortunately. He's not there. Let me see. Let me see if I have something for sacks and the individual stats. Hold on, guys. Uh, Eric Ford had a sack. Cale Newton and Cale Newton and Sean Donovan combined for a sack. I didn't even know who Sean Donovan was. So that's good. So 2 sacks, but a whole bunch of pressures. More importantly, 4 or 5 turnovers on downs and one actual turnover. Caleb Fortner forced a fumble that Stephen Nadozi covered in the fourth quarter. Fortner was all over the field today, 7 total tackles, 1 TFL, created all kinds of havoc. His linebacker made Andon Thomas also had a good game. But the front 4 specifically, or front 3 in this defense, I guess, 4 if you count Eric Ford, who lines up as a rush edge most times. I know that dead dog position is kind of a hybrid linebacker rush edge. It's where Mendoza played last year, along with Eric Ford. So Ford, like I said, had a sack, but the front 3, Jack Balsam specifically, who is a young defensive lineman, definitely had his best game of the season. He looks really good, number 99. He's a sophomore out of Annapolis. How do you like that steal? 6'4", 268 pounds. He looked great along with DeShantez Gray and Tuioti. But Balsam really had himself a game as a defensive lineman, Latour. But Balsam was really impressed with his play across the board. The secondary is getting very good. Again, I understand the quality of play. It's not what we're going to see against Tulane, but you gotta like the fact that since the first quarter of the East Carolina game, where the defense almost got blown out of the stadium and they were down 21-0, the starters on defense have only given up one touchdown since then. Nothing against East Carolina the last three quarters, one touchdown against UAB in the first half, and nothing today. Like I said, Charlotte's only touchdown came on with 8 seconds to go in the game against the second team D in garbage time, as we used to call them, the Hungry Huns. Were out there on the field for Army. Enough about the defense. Let's move to the offensive side of the ball. So the decision was made yesterday to start Cale Helms. I think it was the right decision. In my opinion, from what I've seen, the offense just seems to have more pop with Helms under center. He's more effective under center than Coleman, first of all. I mentioned this after the UAB game last week. Coleman lines up in shotgun a lot, which is great. Helms lined up in shotgun a lot too, but I think he's more effective under center in between the tackles, which at least with the Cody Worley style of Army's offense, the quarterback needs to be able to do. And Dwayne Coleman is just not an in between the tackles kind of runner. I know he may be, still nursing or recovering from an ankle injury, potentially, but the bottom line is, when Coleman's in there, if we don't open a hole or we miss a block, it's no gain, or it's a 1 yard gain or a 2 yard gain. Helms can turn the same play into a 5, 6, 7 yard gain. He was getting long gains on QB power most of the first half. He even ran a little option, some of it out of gun, some of it under center. Option plays to the perimeter did not look great today. Some of his keep reads were really good and really went for some big yardage. Counters look good. The offensive line in the first half was just getting great push and was reestablishing the line of scrimmage 4 to 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. I thought Teddy Williams had a really good game, but the whole O-line played well, which really opened things up for Helms as well as the fullbacks. Looks like Charlotte really sold out on the perimeter with their safeties to try and stop Noah Short, and that seemed to work pretty effectively. But then they gave up a lot of big gashing runs inside with Hayden Reed and Briggs Bartosh and Carson Smith, who had his first career touchdown. Smith today probably looked the best of all the fullbacks. He runs kind of angry. He's got a lot of leg power. He's got a good low center of gravity. He's big. He may be the most effective all-around fullback. Bartosh, we know, has that wiggle and can get some things done. Hayden Reed does well, but gosh, the ball security, it's just not getting better. He fumbled again today on contact for like the third time this season. It just doesn't seem to improve. So with that being said, he's a little bit of a liability, and Army is probably going to need to lean on. Now, here's the good news. They've got Bartosh, Rendina, and Smith. So they got three other studs back there that they can lean on for sure. And really, again, like Carson Smith. But getting back to the quarterback situation, I think Cale Helms is your guy. When the passes weren't there, on the 4 times he threw the ball out of bounds. When they were there, he connected big time with Noah Short. He threw a nice little pitch and catch to Toby Alawali. I'd love to see Brady Anderson get more involved in the passing game again, like he was prior to last week. Not sure what happened there. I know Alawali's back from injury, and I think the staff likes Alawali for whatever reason. Shout out to Buford High School grad there. But they seem to favor him over Anderson right now for whatever reason that is, or maybe defenses are just taking Anderson away because he's been such a big problem early in the year. Not really sure. I'd need to watch more film to really know what's going on there. But Yeah, offense really clicked well today. Against an injured, banged up, not great D. Like I get it. And then in the second half, all the big holes they were opening up, the reestablishment of the line of scrimmage, all that just seemed to go away. Helms made the big play to short, and we were able to score off of that. And then they took him out and replaced him with Coleman, and the offense just stalled because, again, I just think if Army doesn't have a quarterback who can create yardage in between the tackles, the way Bryson Daly did, the way Cale Hellam seems to some degree, I don't think this offense clicks nearly as well. So, in my opinion, if I'm Cody Worley going forward, unless he does something to mess up like he did against North Texas, Cale Helms is our quarterback going forward. Another advantage to that is he's only a junior. So you get him back next year competing against Ethan Washington, and we all know the difference in Bryson Daly from year one to year two. Ahmad Bradshaw back in the day from year one to year two. So Christian Anderson from year one to year two. So I think, Cale Helms gets a good amount of starts and snaps under his belt this year. He can create some problems for people next year, potentially. Look out there. Offensive line, again, looked great in the first half, not so great in the second half. Special teams, we ran into a punter. Wagon Seller looked good. He always looks good. Dawson Jones missed one wide right. We got one blocked. The problem with this team, they've shown glimpses that they can be talented and be like the 2024 team was in some ways. The problem is consistency. They haven't put four good quarters together against anybody save maybe UAB last week. They play great one half and then they play terrible the next half. The first four games of the season, they started slow and then got hot. Today, they started great and then played really poorly in the second half. I don't know if I want to call them mental lapses, but it's execution lapses on the offensive line today. Again, great first half. What happened in the second half? Blocking on the perimeter. I know they were missing Liam Fortner today. He was in street clothes, but blocking on the perimeter was lacking all game long, even with the game that we had. Again, can't really say anything bad about the defense today, but the lapses, not a lot of dumb penalties today, which is great. Only had one penalty all game. The fumble in the first half by Hayden Reed, again, that's an execution lapse. The blocked field goal, the missed field goal, execution lapses. It's just when this team, great teams don't have those. They just go out and they execute for 60 minutes. Not saying they're perfect, not saying they're mistake free, but this team makes a lot of errors that great teams don't make. And if they do that against Tulane next week, they're going to get hammered. Tulane at home in Louisiana is a very tough out. I mean, right now, I'd look at Army as a probably 2-touchdown underdog going into that game. I'm not sure our running game is going to be effective against Tulane, so we need to be ready to take advantage of play actions and go over the top and loosen up their defense a little bit if we have that in the arsenal. Even if Helms can't complete some of those, if we can get him out on the perimeter and he runs for 5 or 10, that's great. Give him a little RPO action out there. Give him a boot. Those seem to work well, whether he throws the ball or not, right? So we're going to have to do something to loosen up Tulane. Otherwise, they've got way too many athletes, and they're going to just shut this offense down. We saw what they did to Navy in the regular season last year, and I'm concerned that the game next week could go that way if we're not careful, and if we don't win the turnover battle and we have these execution lapses. Army's going to have to play a near perfect game to have a chance against Tulane. My personal opinion is Tulane's the best team on Army's schedule, better than Kansas State was, better than Navy, although that game is unique in its own way. But I think Tulane is the best team on Army's schedule. And so, this could be, especially being an away game, this could be a really tough out for the Black Knights. But If they play the way they did against Kansas State, if they play the way they did against UAB, if they play the way they did in the first half today against Charlotte, they give themselves a chance, and that's really all you can ask for. And I think, with Cale Helms under center, I like our chances a lot better than I do with Dwayne Coleman under center. Um, again, not knocking Dwayne Coleman, but I've seen enough of this team. I think the offense has, I'm going to use a term that's not very scientific. They have that pop when Cale Helms is in there. The offensive line seems to move better. They seem to block better. There just seems to be more fire. What I've noticed this team is also lacking that last year's team had. Last year's team wasn't the only team that had this. I think the 2017 team under Ahmad Bradshaw had it. The 2018 team under Kelvin Hopkins had it. Is that swagger from the quarterback position that just breeds confidence throughout the rest of the team. And I feel like Cale Helms has a little bit of that. He talks a little bit of trash. He's confident. He's a little fiery, and I feel like Dwayne Coleman's a little more in the Eli Manning mode, which can work. Obviously, Eli won 2 Super Bowls, but I think what this team needs right now is Cale Helms' energy. And so I'm happy the coaches made the move they made today. I think it's the right move for the Tulane game next week. If he doesn't make the mistakes he made against North Texas, I think he gives us the best chance to win. And we'll see what happens. I mean, they're going to go into New Orleans as clear underdogs, but sometimes when Army's an underdog, they play really well. So let's see. And that's it for me. Go Army, beat Tulane, and beat Navy.